Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the EZFX trading room broadcast for September 26th, Monday, 2016. My name is Bradley Freed, and for the next 20 to 30 minutes, you'll be joining me for a review of our watch list. We last updated on the 22nd, Thursday last week, and we'll also be looking at any new trades, new trade setups. Last week was a pretty tough trading week. We had some good winners, but we also had losers. We didn't get a clear direction out of the market because of a lot of announcements that really pushed the market around. There's an awful lot of volatility for a lot of currency pairs. So we kind of moved sideways last week. We made a little bit of money, but not a lot. We didn't really see an advancement or additional momentum in the direction of adding to our accounts. But this is a new week, so we're going to come at it fresh. Lots of trade ideas, some which are continuations of trade ideas we had last week and some which are brand new. And we're also going to talk about trend trading a little bit because in my mind, I think we're getting to a point where we may be in some long fundamental trends where we probably should start thinking about setting up and trying some trend trades too. So we'll get into that a little bit. First of all, I want to review the list. Oh, and by the way, if you're watching this live, we have a chat room on this site. You can post to the chat room if you have any question, and I'll answer all questions at the end of the broadcast. If you're watching the recording, you can log in, go to the community menu, and you can either post to the trading room group, or you can find me. I'm EZFX. You can find me on the members list and send me a private message, or you can send me an email at ezfxsignal@gmail.com. Okay, so let's jump in and let's start looking at the watch list. I'm not going to go into all the trades that opened and closed last week because there were a lot of them. It was a pretty exhausting trading week. If you want to see that, go to the Signals blog. I haven't quite finished completely updating it, but it will be updated by the end of the day today, and you'll be able to review all the trades that we took last week. So we were as of Thursday, we were watching a euro pound sell, a euro Aussie buy, and a pound Aussie buy. Our open trades were pound dollar buy, pound Newsy buy, dollar peso sell, dollar CAD sell, Aussie dollar buy, and Newsy dollar buy. So let's jump over the charts. We're going to start by looking at these, and then we're going to look at anything new that's setting up. I did send out a link to a new analysis report. You should have seen that. Just giving my scan of the market and the things I'm interested in potentially trading this week. So that's pretty much going to be my focus for the week, and I'll keep tracking that and as those trades set up and develop, or even if they don't, we'll still be talking about them until they give us something. So let me jump over to our charts, and let's start with the euro pound. Let's move right down the list. There's really nothing imminently worrisome happening at the moment, so we're just going to start at the very beginning. And euro pound. So this pair did set up a trade last week, and it stopped out, and then it keeps trending higher. And this probably would have been a good candidate for a trend trade, and it may still be. We do have a new zone up here. This supply zone is it's only 11 pips thick. It's not really a good zone to set up a trend trade on, but this pair continues to trend. So there's two ways to look at this, and I think it's useful to reset the template, just get it clean, get all the old lines off the chart, and just see what we're looking at. This pair has returned to a previous high made here, which created this Class A supply zone and which started this drop here. So one way to look at this, if we look at the daily chart, is that it's been ranging and it may drop again. The other way to look at it is that this is getting ready to move further to a new high. If we jump onto the weekly chart, it's hit highs that were reached here back in 2012, where price was eventually rejected and dropped back down to here. And it's also, but it's got further room to potentially move up to targets up here. So from a support and resistance perspective, this is a moment where we could be getting ready for a reversal. And so there could be some counter trend opportunity. So on our 1 hour chart, we really don't have, we've been stopped out once. It's been fairly brutal fight to try to get into this pair in the opposite direction. It may be going further. But for now, because I don't have a really thick zone to set up a counter trend trade on, what I want to do is just draw a trend line. I'm still going to watch this. And if I go to my 4 hour chart, that's still a pretty good trend line. And we can't even watch it. We can't even watch it on the 4 hour chart because it's a good place to watch and just see if it may punch through this, but do we get a reversal? Does it start to drop? Are we going to have a lot of resistance here because this was the previous high which started this downtrend? So I'm content to leave this on our watch list and just watch it for pound sell and not really do anything with it right now, not this week, or not until it shows me something that new that indicates a reversal. So we'll be looking for, we already have, say on the 1 hour chart, we have a sell bubble that's been starting to form and kind of getting bigger. So as it continues to move further into greater extremes, it continues to create that bubble. And I really wouldn't be interested in trading this until that bubble's completed. And what I mean by that is that this dotted line that defines the bubble returns to the triangular moving average line and touches it. And then we should see some breakdown action. We should see some other things that we look for, like a new class A supply zone forming around this price action. So there's a lot more we need to see before I will trade this, but let's keep it on the watch list and let's keep thinking about a sell direction trade for the moment. Moving on, we have a Euro Aussie buy. And this trade is actually open. It opened last week with a class A signal, a trend line break, and a buy bubble. And I don't think there was actually a buy bubble. I think I was mistaken about that. It didn't quite create a bubble. So this is not a bubble. I'm going to delete that. Really never was. But we did have at least two things, which is what we want. We wanted a class A zone. We wanted a trend line break. And then we got a triangular moving average color change. And as price moved higher, made higher highs, that was another confirming signal about our trade direction. Targets, we're just using the fibs, 50% retracement level and 78.6% retracement level of the previous downtrend here. And this trade, for now, it's doing exactly what we want to do. It's kind of consolidated. It's made a recent higher high. We're looking for more higher highs and maybe a larger breakout towards our initial profit target. But this is an open trade, and I did send out a signal about this last week. So amidst all the, we did have several large winners amidst some smaller losers. And amidst the trades that stopped out, this was one that survived, and it's actually progressing in the planned direction of trade. Okay, so let's look at pound Aussie buy. That's the next one we want to look at. This also stopped out, and this is moving lower. And I did send out a retrade on this, so it's open, but it looks like it's going to stop out again. It hasn't yet, but it's definitely headed that direction. So it's time to kind of rethink this a little bit. For one, I'll redraw the trend line, and I'll probably go for something. Let's just clean up the chart. Well, I don't want to get rid of my target lines. That's the line I entered on. We can get rid of some of the older lines, because they don't really mean anything anymore to us. This was the recent breakout. So we had a class A zone that it hit, and we had a trend line breakout. That was our confirming signal. And maybe I should have been a little bit more strict about it, but it looked like it might be setting up for a new direction for the week, but maybe not. So we can draw a trend line just above these wicks here. I think would be a good place to draw it for a buy entry if we were going to try that again, if it does stop out. And the other thing to think about is a trend trade. So this is a 48 pip or 50 pip width zone here. That's a pretty good width for setting up a trend trade. I'm going to go ahead and mark it. I'm going to mark the top and the bottom of it. And I do talk about this in the course. We haven't really done this recently because I've been doing pretty well with counter trend trading, but some of these trends, it's time to start thinking perhaps of trying some trend trades. So the trend has already been proceeding, but along the way we have opportunities to go ahead and enter that trade. And the way I do that is when a zone fails, when we have a Class A signal like this that fails and we get a close below it, I use the width of that previous zone that will disappear. I set a stop above it or above a recent high and take a trade in the trend direction. And then as the trade proceeds, we can select targets and go ahead and get out. So my initial target on this, if I sell it, is going to be the top of this Class A demand zone here. And when it hits that and I take profit, then I'm going to go ahead and move the stop to break even. And I'm going to trend follow the rest. That means I'm going to trade, hold on to that position because there's no other targets below here. But I'm going to hold on to that position until my triangular moving average turns blue or I get a new Class A opposite signal. So basically the same thing as my early exit signal. That's what I'm going to do. So if this fails, and it looks like it may stop out, hasn't done it yet, then I'm going to go ahead and think about taking a trend trade on the pound Aussie in the sell direction. So I'm going to say, I'm going to put this on the watch list as a sell trade. Call it a trend trade. And I'm also going to put this as an open trade. Okay, so that's where we're at with our watch list for the moment. There's other stuff I want to throw on there later, but bear with me. So we've got Euro Aussie, Pound Aussie, open, and a potential trend trade sitting up in the Pound Aussie if it stops out. It stops out and the candle closes beneath that old zone. That's prerequisite. Let's look at the pound dollar. We had a pound dollar buy. That unfortunately also stopped out. These pound pairs are getting hammered as that Brexit kicks in and this currency is just, becomes the 1930s Deutschmark of 2016. So we had a stop here. It hit that. It left a wick. It tried to rise. It stopped out again. I did draw a new trend line up here. And I just drew it across the wicks, the tops of the candles. And if I was going to get into a new buy trade, I'd need to see some kind of move to break out through this line. If I shrink down my chart, it's kind of right on top of all these recent highs made as this pair has dropped. And this pair also, if we look, we're on the 4-hour chart, but it's returned to this support level, right? This zone where these buy trades have started before. And our first attempt on this failed, but we may get another try. So at this point, I'm not thinking about a sell trade on this. I may. There's another problem, though. This is a really thick zone, right? So if we're setting a stop and it's more than 150 pips required stop, it's too much. It's 166. It's a little too big. It isn't so big that I wouldn't take the trade if it didn't happen, but we have a lot of room before this is going to punch through this zone and invalidate it. So for now, I'm still thinking counter trend on this pair, but I have a new trend line. So I'm going to move this to the, we did have a trade that closed. If you want to see the details, you can go to the signals blog. But I'm going to go ahead and I guess I can go ahead and put it down here. And the pips on that pound dollar were 95, I believe. And I'm also going to put this back on our watch list, on the watching portion of our watch list. Next, let's look at the pound newsy buy. This is also open. It opened, it almost got to our initial profit target at the weekly fib. I mean, the weekly pivot for last week, 1.7984. And then it's dropped recently. So I'm not done with this trade. I think it can recover, but we did see a drop after the open this week. Just holding on to it, following the trade plan, trying to get to that initial profit target. It's not a huge trade, but it's a good trade. It's set up and it did everything we usually see for a successful trade. So I think it's worth at this point to just keep managing it. We don't have an opposite class A signal that would tell us to go ahead and close it. We don't have a triangular moving average color change yet. We may get one. My instinct is to hold on to this and see if we can power up and at least get to this first profit target. So this is an open trade, and I'm just going to hold on to that for now. Dollar peso sell. That is another open trade. So it dropped. It was moving nicely. Then it retraced back up to this class A supply zone. Started moving towards the stop, and then it's kind of become reluctant. It didn't actually break through all the way there. So it may fall again for the week. Just to kind of monitor the progress of that, we can draw another trend line beneath price like that. And when it breaks below that, we can think that maybe this is going to start moving in our planned direction again. If it does stop out, if we look at like the daily chart, this is just making new highs all over the place. This is, the weakest this currency has been against the dollar in a long time. I mean, since, back in 2002. So it's quite interesting to see this happening. It's a good pair potentially to trade in a trend direction. It could keep going that way. This zone, though, how thick is this zone? That's always a question for me. It's only 147 pips wide, so we could potentially take a trend trade on this if it breaks out. So I would put this again on a trend trade list. It's open, but it could produce a trend trade. Next, we'll look at the dollar CAD sell. This actually did all right. We got to our initial profit target, took profit, moved the stop to break even, and it retraced up to this class A supply zone, and it stopped at the remainder stopped at a break even. So we were able to take profit on this, and we managed the risk appropriately so that we didn't lose on it, and we made about 137 pips of profit on it. So this one also closed. This one closed a winner. That was one of our winners last week. Aussie dollar buy. So Aussie dollar buy also closed a winner. We hit our final profit target on it. I don't have the new lines here because I'm kind of looking at a new potential trade setup. But we did make on the Aussie dollar. I'll update the exact pips later, but we did hit the final profit target on that, so that was a winner. And then finally a New Zealand dollar buy. That was the other trade we had open last week. This hit its initial profit target. We took profit, moved the stop to break even, then it fell. And now we're looking at a potential buy trade on this. Haven't quite decided yet. But this was also a winner, and we made about, again, it wasn't a huge trade, but it was a win, 78 pips. So that's where we are on our list. We have 4 trades open. We may have more than that. Let's see. I think there's some other things that happened on Friday that we haven't included on our list. So Euro Aussie, Pound Aussie. Yeah, the dollar South African Rand. I saw this set up. One of my students in Japan likes this pair. So I saw this set up on Friday. I thought, what the heck? We're having all this dollar strength, and this is broken out with this candle here. So I went ahead and bought this. This isn't a pair I usually trade, but I just set it up by the numbers, by our system. So we have a buy bubble, Class A zone down here, trend line break up here. And I used, because this was so far away from where price was when this breakout happened, I put a stop right below this lower low here. And then afterwards, this new Class A demand zone appeared. So that's all pretty valid. Triangular moving average also changed color. If we can get a higher high, this could move towards our initial profit target here at the 50% retracement level. So I'm still waiting for that to happen. It did retrace down a little bit, but this trade is open, and this is a pair we haven't really traded that much before, so it's kind of interesting. My tendency is not to trade exotics. My student pointed out that the spread on this really isn't too bad. And we did have a nice sell. He had a nice sell win on it that I advised him on, and it worked out pretty well. So I thought, well, maybe we should start looking at this pair. Maybe this is something that will work well with our system. So we gave it a go this time. So dollar rand, dollar peso we talked about. Pound newsy we talked about. Okay, so let's talk about what's setting up now. Aussie dollar, we've had a sell bubble. Right here. Class A supply zone, trend line break, triangular moving average color change. It's retraced a bit towards the zone since the initial drop, giving us a required stop of about 44 pips, so we can take a relatively larger trade size on this. Stop above the zone at 0.76773, let's say. My internet connection just reset, so it's going to take a second for the charts to become active again. Targets, we can use the fibs. I already drew fibs on this chart, so we can, there we go. Yeah, just above, like that. So we can use fib targets, 50% target, and we can use this weekly pivot as a second target, or the 78.6% target. If you look at what this pair has been doing, it's kind of been making lower lows. Made a lower low, then it's retraced up, it's getting resistance. It may be getting ready to drop again. So it's a good time to get in this trade. And if I was going to do it, again, I'll go ahead and set this one up live with you guys. Aussie dollar. Always size your trade before you take it. Always set your stop immediately after you enter the trade. 0.76287 would be the approximate entry price. Final target, let's just say the weekly pivot. Let's be conservative. From last week, 0.7514. All in the trade space. And the stop is 0.76765. So we can trade $1 a pip, we can trade 0.10. And that's going to be 0.96% of our notional equity on this account. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. I'm going to take this trade. And I'll send a signal out about it as well. My apologies, we have gone over 30 minutes. I'm going to wrap this up as soon as we get this trade in. All right, so add an Aussie dollar chart. It's going to be 0.10. Sell. And I trade two accounts to deal with the first in, first out rule in the United States. As I think I've explained that. If you're in another country that doesn't have this ridiculous rule, you don't have to have two accounts to have separate profit targets. So congratulations. Okay, so we've sold the pair. And immediately I'm going to place that stop. The first thing you do is set the stop. 0.76765. That's the only control you have over your trade. The entry timing and the stop. That's it. So you control the entry, you control the worst case exit. That's the only control you have as a trader. And if you decide to give that up by not setting a stop, or by moving a stop, or by removing a stop, you become a gambler. You're no longer a trader because you've elected to remove control from your trade. And then we let math do the rest. We have an edge on our system. We have a good risk to reward ratio. I'll put in the targets later, but the important thing is to get the stop in right away. And I'll take a chart screenshot so we know what this looked like when we made our trade decision. And this will go up with the signal when I post it to the blog. And the link will go out with the signal when I mail it to you guys. So I'm adding an Aussie dollar sell. You get a look at some of the other trades that I'm contemplating, or the other pairs I'm interested in. Please take a look at the analysis report for the week. I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast here because we've gone 40 minutes. But it should be a good trading week. There's a lot. We have some ground to make up. We didn't really lose anything last week, but we didn't really gain anything either. I'm interested in gaining more, of course. And hopefully we'll get that this week. Hopefully we'll get some alpha and push our account size up even higher. So thanks for watching. We'll be back. Come at me with any questions by any of the means I described before, including the email address you can use. Let's get back to the site, back to the trading room. As always, you can email me at EZFX@gmail.com. Always happy to hear from you. Always ready to answer your questions. So I'll see you tomorrow. We'll be back at the same time. And happy trading. Send me any questions you have, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.